How fast does mercy die when your daughter's voice shakes in a way you've never heard before? That's the question that hit me the night everything in my life snapped clean in half. They called just after midnight. A nurse with a tight, controlled voice said my daughter was in the emergency ward and that I needed to come right away. I didn't ask a single question. You don't need details when you hear regret hiding behind every syllable. I grabbed my keys and drove with my boots still muddy from Fort Bragg. I hadn't even unpacked. Room 304, Pediatric Trauma. She looked so small in that bed, wrapped in thin white sheets, bruises spreading across her arms like someone had painted violence on her skin. Tears streaked her cheeks. When she saw me, her voice barely made it out. "Dad, I came home early and... Mom." Her throat closed up, but I already felt my stomach drop. Finally, she whispered it out, the thing that turned every vein in my body into wire. "Mom was with Uncle Rick, in your bed." I screamed, and his guards, they threw me down the stairs. "They're still in the house, drinking your whiskey." My daughter was 9, and grown men had tossed her down a staircase because she walked in on their little fantasy. My hands tightened around the bed rail until the metal groaned. I didn't yell, didn't cry. I planned. Emma, my wife, always said her half-brother Rick was harmless. Slick smile, expensive suits, a parasite with a yacht he didn't earn, and bodyguards he shouldn't need. I never trusted him. Now I knew why. I walked out of that hospital with a calm so sharp it felt cold. Some things I'd seen in Kandahar were worse, but nothing was this personal. And when it's personal, I don't go loud, I go quiet, surgical. First step, the cameras. I'd installed my own private system, hidden cables, offline backups only I knew about. The footage hit me like a punch. Emma and Rick in my bedroom, no shame. 2 drunk guards stumbling through the hallway. Then my daughter, small, scared, standing in the doorway. The scream. The shove. Her body hitting the 5th step head first. They didn't even check if she was breathing. Later, they dragged her to the guest room and decided to call it a clumsy fall. I didn't call the cops. Cops ask questions. Questions require patience. I needed results. So I called Simon, ex-NSA, still owed me for Jakarta. He pulled Rick's files in under an hour offshores, trafficking connections, cartel logistics, all the dirt you don't survive once the feds see it. Then I dug through Emma's phone. Deleted texts, hidden folders. Nights filled with messages like, "Can't wait to taste you again." David's gone 6 more days. The kid sleeps deep. My daughter, a prop in their affair. Collateral damage. Next, I paid a tech to clone Rick's internal security feed audio, living room mics, everything. They stayed after the fall. Celebrated it. Called my daughter a brat for ruining the mood. Quote, "Tension braid." Emma laughed. I watched it all in silence. 12 minutes. That's how long my child lay unconscious while they drank my whiskey. I printed everything, screenshots, transcripts, timestamps. Black ink, white paper. Truth stripped clean. 3 days later, Emma walked into the hospital with lilies and a smile glued on like nothing was wrong. I just heard. I was away with a friend. I handed her a flash drive. No words. She plugged it in. 5 seconds in, her face cracked. 15 seconds. She shook like a wire in a storm. I just looked into my daughter's room. The IV beeped steady, small and fragile. Then I said one thing. "You laughed." She tried to explain, but I was already walking away. The next night, I waited in the backyard boots, silent on the grass, darkness wrapped around me. Rick and his men were inside, sprawled across my furniture, drinking my whiskey again. I didn't storm in. I cut the power. Silence dropped over the house like a shroud. Then the backup camera fired one single flash, just enough to freeze their faces in white light. I stepped through the front door with nothing in my hands. Rick stood up, smirking. "You don't want this fight, David." I handed him a folder. Everything he'd done. Everything Emma said. All of it stamped, sorted, ready. Police? I shook my head. Worse, feds. Simon made sure the right eyes saw it. Guns, girls, fraud, tax evasion, enough charges to erase a man from a country. Rick stepped forward. "I've got men." I nodded toward the shadows behind him. So do I. He never saw them move. That was 3 weeks ago. Emma's name doesn't appear on a single custody form. No visitation, no alimony, no rights. Rick vanished, or someone made him vanish. Doesn't matter. My daughter sleeps through the night now. Sometimes she still asks why her mom left. I just tell her. Some people walk away before the truth catches them.